Hey everyone, Dan Rother, top student athlete recruiting. We'll get started here in a minute or two. It's a few minutes before 7:30, but thanks for joining me tonight and look forward to telling you a little bit more about college soccer recruiting and how to navigate it. The minute or two, and we will get started. All right, another 30 seconds or so. It's just clicked over to 7:30. All right. Welcome, everybody. Dan Rother, top student athlete recruiting. Um, Thanks for joining me tonight. We'll talk about college soccer recruiting and how to navigate it. Just before we get going, this is a webinar format, so you'll just see me. You won't see anybody else that's on here. However, if you do have questions, you can go in the chat or the question and answer, the Q&A, and type it in. I'll get to every question that is asked, try to help you through the process. I probably won't get to the questions till the end. So if you want to wait for questions till the end, I may cover what you're asking through the course of the conversation. And then at the end, I'll try to answer as many questions as I possibly can. What I do and what Top Student Athlete Recruiting, which is a company of one, me, I help high school student athletes get recruited to play college athletics, primarily soccer. My goal is to help prospects find the right college for them academically, athletically, socially, financially, where they will grow and maximize their potential on and off the field. All right, I help maximize exposure and get more college interest, get more colleges interested in the people I work with by using my connections. I know a lot of college coaches around the country. If I don't know them, I feel like I'm one coach away. And I'll talk about my experience here in a minute. I help save money on college costs because I know how to navigate the financial aid world and the scholarship world because I lived in that world for a very long time. And then I help reduce stress of the process and help facilitate, the whole process from start to finish, and really help reduce stress for families and student athletes. And in this, it's a challenging time, and there's always a lot of what ifs and questions about what to do and what to do next and things like that. I'm different than other services out there. I offer a lot of free advice, which I'm offering tonight. I do go see every prospect I work with play, or so I know exactly the type of player I'm recommending to coaches. I think that makes a huge difference. Plus, I have a ton of experience to back that up. So coaches trust me as a scout and a person out there with eyes out there for them. In addition to walking through the process and using my experience and connections to to really help find great opportunities and get people on the doorsteps. My experience, I live in Dubuque, Iowa. I was a longtime soccer coach for men's and women's at Loras College, small private Division III school. I had a lot of success, as you see on the screen, but that was the big part of my success. I think was my ability to recruit. All right, and that recruiting was the lifeblood of my program. You need the right kids, you need the right talent, and you need the kids that are going to buy in and be the type of player that you want as a coach. And every coach has different things they're looking for. I also was associate athletic director, where I oversaw recruiting for the whole athletic department for 5 years. So every sport, I sat in admissions meetings daily and financial aid meetings and things like that. So I know how that process works. And, I know how to help save money on that side of things. So when people are getting down to it, college is an expensive thing, and how can you better your opportunity? And everybody likes to save a little money. So that's part of it. My goal is to help people find the best 4 years of their life. College is such a cool thing, and playing college soccer is such a cool thing that I want to give that back to people, and have, I've always found players in my time or high school athletes that didn't decide to play in college and they regretted it. Or I wondered why a kid I had seen, play in a game, maybe the teammate of one of the kids I was recruiting or somebody else decided not to play in college. And a lot of times they, coulda, shoulda, woulda. They were overlooked. They didn't know how to do this. They were nervous about it. They didn't know what the next steps were. There's a lot of reasons kids chose not to play. And I wanted to help get more people, that opportunity to find that great fit opportunity. Recruiting is different for everybody. It really is. Everybody wants to be wanted, and there is a belief that coaches will find you. That's not the case. It's maybe for the top 1%. For everyone else out there, you need to drum up interest. You can't wait for coaches to come and find you. You can't even wait for coaches to come ask you to go on a visit. You need to be the aggressor in the process. We're going to talk about that a little bit today, so that you can get the most out of your opportunities. But this is not a 4-year decision. It's a 40-year decision. And so you need to, plant the seeds that you're interested in doing these things, because you want to get everything out of college and more that you desire. That's a huge thing. And find a college soccer program that will maximize your potential as a student and an athlete. And you leave there saying that was the best 4 years of my life. I was able to get that. I still feel this to this day, that I had, an amazing opportunity in college to play. And, it kind of set the tone for me for the, the rest of my life and things like that. And it still affects me today. It's 30 years later, and I'm going, skiing with 5 teammates of mine from college next week. Right. So can't complain about that. It just was an amazing opportunity. We'll talk quickly about, COVID and how this has affected recruiting. And I jump into this first because it has challenged recruiting and how opportunities look for high school student athletes here, for the next few years. Every player that played in college last year gets an extra year of eligibility. So if you don't know that, and how that looks, if they played last year, 2020-2021 season, because it was shortened, because it was pandemic affected, every student athlete that participated got an extra year of eligibility in the college level, no matter what level, Division 1, 2, 3, NAI, junior college, doesn't matter. That means, when players typically graduate after 4 years, the new freshmen move in and there's opportunity. You graduate 5, you might bring in 5 to 8 new athletes, right? Depending on, people are transferring, a couple of different things happen. You might bring at least 5 in, right? But usually more than that. Well, with this COVID thing, these seniors can stick around that extra year. So because, that year might be coming up and they're graduating 5, well, 3 of them might be coming back to use a 5th year of eligibility. It's up to the kid, it's up to the coach if they still want them back. Some of those fifth year seniors are transferring and going to use that fifth year to start a master's degree somewhere, things like that. And college coaches, they like it. They especially at the highest level, they're excited about getting a player for 1 year that's might have been a 3-year starter at a really good program, and they're going to start their master's degree at their school, and that's going to make them better because coaches, like it or not, get paid to win or lose, right, at the college level, and that's at all divisions. It's not just Division I. I coached at Division III for a long time. Winning and losing was the thing, right? If you weren't winning, you weren't going to have a job very long. So doesn't mean you can't find opportunities. Every player I'm working with is finding opportunities. You just need to be creative and cast a wide net. All right. And it takes persistence. All right. The whole recruiting is always taking persistence, and you may hear no, you might hear nothing at all. If you reach out to schools, you need to be okay with only hearing back from a few schools, and you reach out to a lot, right? So you have to have some resilience to yourself. This is not easy. Don't go about it limiting by what level you think you can play at. Like, people are wrong, right? Don't go in saying, well, I'm only going to play Division I, right? Because there's a lot of really good schools and programs that aren't Division I, or coaches get it wrong, right? That's one other thing. Like, sometimes coaches get it wrong. Let's use the NFL draft, for example. They have all the tools and metrics that money can buy, and they get it wrong. Tom Brady was the 199th pick, and he's the best player of all time considered by most, right? So if the NFL can't get it right, it's really hard for college coaches to get it right, especially because of limited budgets, and they don't have the kinds of metrics and things like that the NFL has. So the most difficult thing is to predict the potential of how well a player is going to transition from high school and club to college. All right. You might look good in your club and high school environment, but a college coach doesn't know how you're going to actually translate that to their game in a few years and things like that. So, trying to navigate that, understand that, and with all these other challenges of COVID and everything else that goes on, it can be confusing. And, like I said, I'm helping families through that confusing process. I like to talk about the myths and mistakes of recruiting. The first myth is scholarships. All right. Soccer scholarships are usually partial, or a full ride is very rare. So just to know that, we'll talk about that briefly here in a second. I'll show you a little graph about how that looks, but you should not be saying you need an athletic scholarship. Rather, you should find the best college at the best value for you. What are you going to get the most out of college at the best value? Find a place that's going to give you that. They might give you money that's in a different form, a grant or a merit award based on your academics, and it's worth more than an athletic scholarship could be anyhow. And then because soccer scholarships are usually partial scholarships, they're not full rides for the most part, grades are really important. And it could result in more money for college. So grades. And whether you're on here and you're a senior, or you're a freshman, or you're eighth grader, right? High school grades matter. Your freshman year grades matter. It's all very, very important. And don't ever think that they don't matter, because it does. And I'll give you an example here in a second. But let's just talk about men's and women's soccer, right? We'll talk about men's first. There's Division I. There's 204 schools playing Division I men's soccer. There's 9.9 scholarships. Is a maximum available per team at Division I. So a Division I team, let's say they have about 30 players on a roster, which is pretty normal. 9.9 scholarships. So it's about a third scholarship per player if you did the average, right? But there's some players on the team that are getting a full ride, and there's some players that are getting $0. And the coach decides that. The coach decides how they're going to divvy up the scholarship money at that school. Now, they don't have to give out 9.9. The athletic department and the college decides how much they're giving out, because it's a financial consideration. It costs money. So that's soccer scholarships in a nutshell. There's a lot of kids that come in at 10%, 20% scholarship to start with, and maybe work their way up to 50%. Soccer scholarships, again, are partial. They're not like football and basketball at Division I are different. It's either full ride or walk on. Those are the only two choices. You're either full ride scholarship or you're a walk on athlete where you're paying the full price. And just getting regular scholarships through academics and things like that. You're not getting athletic money. So that's the difference. Soccer and most other sports are partial scholarships. So, for instance, I had a player the other day. I called a Division I coach about a player I'm working with, and that's kind of what I do all day is call college coaches, tell them about different players. And this coach liked the player I was working with. They said, first thing out of their mouth, what are their grades? Said, we're working with a 4.0 here, coach. Love it. That's what I want to hear, because a 4.0 at my school gets 50% off of the cost right off the bat. And I can give that student athlete another 50% off based on their soccer. So really they're going to get a full ride, but it's 50 academic, 50 soccer. All right, that can happen. Division II has 200 schools playing, 9 scholarships, so it's about the same. Division III is the biggest division, almost double any other division, 400 some schools playing. They do not have athletic scholarships. I coached at a Division III school for a long time, and I know that they gave really good academic and merit award based on programs and leadership and other things too. So your academics mattered, your leadership mattered. You can apply for other scholarships based on certain programs that might be of interest to you or that we specialized in as a school. And we competed with schools, bigger schools or Division I, Division II schools sometimes for academic or for scholarship money and things like that. It just wasn't in the form of athletic scholarship. NAIA can give athletic scholarships to some extent. Usually it's a couple $1,000s additional. I say 12 here is how much they can give, and that is a max. There's some, but very few NAIA schools that give that many full ride scholarships out. But there are some out there, and they're really, really good. And they have a lot of foreign players sometimes. They use those on foreign players and things like that, but not all. NAIA schools, NAIA is National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics. It's just a different governing body that oversees athletics. The schools in size and scope are usually smaller private schools, somewhat similar to Division III and Division II schools, but there's different size and scopes of schools at each division. There's Division I schools with 60,000 students, and there's Division I schools with less than 1,000. There's Division III schools with 15, 20,000 students. So it varies in that realm. Junior colleges, they can be really good options for somebody who doesn't know quite what they want yet, or maybe feels like they were under recruited. There's 200 division or junior colleges out there playing soccer. All in all, about 1,400 schools playing men's soccer. On the women's side, it's just a little bit different. There's more Division I schools playing soccer. You probably have realized that a lot of state schools, the big flagship schools, might not have men's soccer, but they have women's in your state or something like that. In my state, Iowa, our flagship schools don't have those. Like Iowa State don't have men's soccer, but they have women's. There's 14 scholarships on the women's side for Division I. So about half, if we have 30 on your roster, it's about half scholarship per player, so just a little bit different. Division II, 250, 9.9 scholarships, and down the line here, about the same in Division III, about the same in NAIA and junior college. So about 100, 150 more schools playing women's soccer than men's soccer. The second myth, if you're good enough, coaches will find you. Most scholarship money and most roster spots go to those that market themselves the best. All right. Players who wait for coaches to come find them seldom get scholarships or even end up playing in colleges. All right. It just doesn't quite work that way. With the exception of the superstars, you need to market yourself to get found. When you go to a tournament, you go to a showcase, you go play out of town, reach out to the coaches in that area or reach out to coaches that are on a list that say they're going to be in a tournament and let them know you're going to be there, that you're playing at 2 p.m. on field 11 and you wear number 30 and let them know, you're going to be at that event. So maybe they can watch you play and they can evaluate you, and then they know, who you were. Because when a coach goes to a tournament and they go to watch, they go to watch the players they're connected to. They go to watch players they have relationships with. So they need to know about you so they can come watch you play. Otherwise, you're just hoping they're going to show up and a lot of kids go to tournaments and showcases and camps, and they go to a ton of them, and they just hope they're going to get found. And it doesn't work if they're not reaching out and doing due diligence and doing follow-ups afterwards and thank you notes and little things that kind of, you get a lot of players, let's say you have 2 players and they're both the same. Who's going to get recruited? The one who's doing the little things, sending the thank you note, who's doing the little things to make them, stand out in the crowd. Those are important things. The next myth is Division III or NAIA. A lot of people look down on these divisions, right? The division is a philosophical choice each school has made to be it. It's based on financials because it costs money to give scholarships. They're not making as much money on a student if they're not paying the full rate. They're giving them a free scholarship and stuff like that. So part of it's a financial decision, and part of it's a balance to education decision. Division I has different rules than Division II, and different rules, and Division II has different rules than Division III on off-season workouts and how much time they can be with their teams in the off-season. And is there more balance to the academics and athletics at the Division III level versus Division I level? Those are 2 really big players in the room. Size is a little bit involved, but not really. Most, like I said, there's schools, the biggest of the big are typically Division I, but there's a wide range of schools and sizes at all levels. In terms of performance, most people think Division I is the best, then Division II, then Division III. The reality is there's a big array. There's a really good Division I, and there's Division I that's not that good, right? There's Division II that could beat some of Division I's. The number 1 team in Division II on men's soccer this year played the number 1 team in Division I in preseason, and the number 1 team in Division II won. You would think that wouldn't even be close, but they were better. It was 3-1 or something like that. The best teams in Division III can beat some Division I teams and Division II teams. But the best teams in Division III are also beating teams in their own division, maybe 10-0. My teams for a long time were some of the best in Division III. We were beating Division I teams in games and Division II teams and things like that. So the reality is there's a lot of overlap, and the division is a little bit harder to determine. It's not soccer, or it's not football and basketball where 400-pound linemen and 7-footers become a big thing, and that changes the game. I mean, there's really good soccer at every level, and it's the world's game. There's a lot of people from around the whole world competing for those same roster spots. And so, I read something the other day, it's about 45% of Division I soccer players are foreign on the men's side. All right. It's not the same on the women's, but that takes away about half the spots from American kids that want to play Division I. It's pretty hard to get there. And the reality is that, you need to do your due diligence. Some of the major mistakes in recruiting. Here's a little video that my buddy and I made. It's pretty sarcastic, but you'll get the point.
Are you going to play in college?
Yeah, probably D1.
That's cool. For who?
Either North Carolina or Duke. Maybe Wake Forest or State if I have to. I'm not sure yet.
Are those coaches at the game today?
I don't know. I haven't talked to them yet. I'm only a junior.
So how do you know you can play for them?
They all sent me letters asking me to come to their camp so they could get a better look at me. So they definitely want me.
That sounds stupid. They probably just want you to come to their camp.
Plus my coach said it's an NCAA dead period and they can't recruit me until after July 1st prior to my senior year.
That's stupid too. Of course they can recruit you. I have friends who are sophomores and are committed to schools already.
I'm not worried about it. My dad's buddy said I can play D1 for sure.
You are a tool. Did you even send them video?
No, I don't have any. I think my coach was going to get some and sent to some schools randomly.
That's a pretty stupid idea. I heard they get a lot of tapes sent to them.
I'm not worried. I was all conference.
You are a tool. Don't you think most kids who want to play in college were all conference in high school? Do you have good grades?
I have a 2.5, and that's all I need to be eligible.
You are getting dumber the more I talk to you. What if you can't get into a school with that? Or what if the coach prefers athletes with better grades?
But I'm really good. My mom says so.
Your mom is stupid too. Don't you even want to look at D2 and D3 schools?
I heard they suck. I'm pretty sure I could play at any D2 school that I wanted to.
You suck. You know there are like 15,000 high schools and 1,000 colleges, so only the best players in the country can play D1. Have you ever been to a D2 or D3 game?
No, they suck.
You suck.
If I get out of it. Obviously, the guy makes all the mistakes in the world, right? But there's some reality to some of those, and I hear a lot of those things through the course of the process. The first mistake: target the wrong schools. You got to be honest with yourself, all right, and don't target schools that aren't good fits. There's a couple different areas, right? Athletically, everyone wants to play Division I, and at the highest level possible. But many prospects overshoot in the process. You don't want to be somebody that overshoots, but they also don't really know what that really means. Like, go see Division I, II, III level games. I think everybody that I've ever seen to do that is really surprised by the level of play at Division II, Division III, NAIA, stuff like that. So overshooting is something that happens, and there's people out there telling you things. Hey, you're Division I. I got a player right now. I'm working with him. His coaches at high school and club are telling him, hey, we think you're a Division I player. Well, who decides if you're a Division I player? That college coach. It's not your high school coach. It's not your club coach. It's not even me. I have an idea, but and a pretty strong idea of that. But I've done this for 25 years of my life too. But it's not even me. For instance, I have I have that kid, and he's getting recruited heavily by some really, really good Division III schools. But I also, I had a few kids a couple of years ago before I started doing this, and I was coaching college, and I had reached out to the coach of a club and said, hey, I saw these couple kids play. I'm really interested in getting their contact information. I'd like to tell them more about, Loras College and my soccer program and stuff like that. Hey, coach, he got back to me. Hey, coach, thanks for reaching out. But those kids are going Division I. And I just kind of chuckled to myself because I was pretty confident. I got a good read on this thing. I've been doing this a long time. I don't think they're Division I level kids, but it's not. I'm not going to go barking up the wrong tree, and no one's going to help me out here. All those kids ended up playing at Division III schools. One ended up coming to actually play for me, but he didn't. 6 months later, he reached out, right? When he kind of figured out he wasn't getting the interest he was getting. So that's an important part of it, but it's not your dad's friend. It's not, don't compare yourself to other people or anything like that. Go watch the level of play. But there's several reasons, that you want to reach out to schools at different levels and different divisions. Even if you think you're Division I, if you reach out to schools at a variety of levels, D2, D3, NAIA, you won't fall through the cracks, right? There's a wider range of schools in all the divisions, right? So you want schools from all levels watching you, so you will have options in the end. If you restrict your search to the top level of Division I, and they aren't exactly what you're not exactly what they're looking for, you've wasted valuable time, and other coaches could have been looking at you. You might even discover a D2 or D3 or an AI school might be the best fit for you. Happens all the time. I had so many kids in my day that were recruited by Division I and good enough to play Division I that chose my school for one reason or another. We were winning championships. We had their major. They wanted a small private school, whatever it was. God forsaken injury happens that dramatically impedes your development. Having options is important. All right. And the more options you have, the more money you can save. All right. Even if it's a school you don't really want to attend, having one offer leads to more, and having many offers can lead to a bidding war where you can save money. So listen to your voices. If you're Division I, but you're only hearing from Division III schools, you're probably a Division III player. All right. Those are some things that you need to take heed of when you're going through this process. Academically, is it the right fit? Schools that are above your academic rigor, you might not even get accepted to. All right. If you waste all this time and energy looking at schools you're not going to get into, if you're not smart enough to get into Harvard, but you keep going after Harvard, you're wasting your time. All right. And the other thing about it is if you go to a school where let's say you can barely get accepted, you're not the top of the top, you're not an automatic accept, you're a fringe academic kid at that school, you're not going to get as much academic money, merit money from that school. And it's going to cost you more. Where there's other schools where you could be a superstar potentially academically and get a ton more paid for out of pocket. So you don't have to pay as much money up front. Again, the importance of grades, but the importance of targeting the right schools and diversifying. And then financially, don't target schools that are going to be out of your price range. That's a big thing too. Some people are like, oh, I want to go to that school where, that super high-end elite private school costs $70,000 to go to a year. Are you really going to be able to afford it? And they don't give, much financial aid. So just knowing what you get, what you're in for, and knowing that what those schools are and what they're like is important to know. Another mistake is contact too few of schools. You've heard this before. Apply to your dream school, your backup school, and your safety school. That's only for non-athletes. If you want to play in college, you need to go where you're recruited to. And so you need to cast a wide net and diversify your options, different divisions, academic levels, those types of things, public, private. So you can really get a real clear picture of what they're going to offer. And then maybe you can use them to leverage against each other and things like that. But then you have options in the end. The more options you have, the more selective you can be. Prospects that contact coaches from a wide variety of levels have better results. And they often find their dream school as a school they never heard of previously or even considered before. Another mistake, have a false sense of security. A lot of awards like All-State, All-Conference, they don't mean anything in recruiting. I promise you. I had players that were All-State from one area, and I had other kids on my team that didn't have any awards, and they might have even been better players in college than the player that was All-State. It's about level of competition, where you're from. Coaches don't care. They want to find players that can play. They go watch you play. They want to find how you're going to transition to college, how well you're going to be. So awards really don't mean anything. A college coach decides if you're recruitable. Nobody else, not your friend's dad, not someone else that says you're Division I, your coach, like I said before, not your mom, whatever. Those things are important to know, and the video kind of hit on that. Camp invites, emails, and admissions meetings don't mean anything unless they're personal. All right, I saw a letter. A bunch of the players I work with last week got the same letter in the mail, snail mail, so an actual letter from a Division I coach. And it basically said, hey, we've been watching you, come to our camp. Here's some options for camps we're having this spring. We'd love to have you. It made them kind of feel like they were being recruited, but it was really just a camp invite, and there was no personal thing to it. And players kept getting the same letter, and they kept asking me about it. Like, hey, I'm getting recruited by Indiana State. I'm getting this letter. I'm like, oh, I want to break it to you, but I will. I'll tell you, I'm a truth teller. That's what I do. That's a mass letter. Just got mailed out to every kid. They got email addresses they got addresses from tournaments and events out there, and they sent it off to every kid out there, and it was addressed from this coach, right? it was a mass email or a mass mailer. I'm sorry, not an email, but it was a mass mailer. You see emails like that all the time, but this was actual paper letter. Coaches are trying to make money on camps. So a camp invite doesn't automatically mean you're getting recruited. They will recruit some out of their camps, but there's a risk reward to it, right? If you just show up at a camp and they don't know anything about you and it's just from a mass mailer, they're probably not even going to look at you. But if they're personally inviting you and they're sending you text messages and there's a personal note on that letter that says, hey, we really want you to come to our camp. You're a top recruit for us. All right, maybe there's something to go to. Coaches go to showcase tournaments, combines with a plan. Like I said before, they go watch players. They're recruiting. They know about. They've have relationships with. They will, on one hand, though, they might show up at a tournament and they're at field 3 watching number 11 play, and two kids on the other team turn out to be really nice players and they want to find out more information about them. It does happen. All right. But, it isn't it's a little bit lucky and they're not just showing up at games randomly. Don't wait until it's too late. Recruiting doesn't happen your senior year. Now, if you are a senior on this, I've worked with seniors that started in March and April and we were still able to find them opportunities. So we can make it happen. But you do get on radar as your freshman and sophomore and even junior year. You might not hear anything for a long time. Coaches can't really reach out to you directly until at June 15th after your sophomore year. That being said, they are writing down, okay, we think we like this player. We've seen him play. You are getting on their radar and somebody they want to follow and pursue later on. And expect your coaches to help you. The ability of your coaches, club and high school, helping you varies. That is for sure. And you can't expect them to help you, but you can definitely ask. And everyone's got a different comfort level of this. If they're really comfortable helping you, certainly reach out and ask them to help you in any ways they can. But they're busy, they have lives, and they don't often have the connections and resources and have a lot of other responsibilities. They're a teacher, they're a coach. They do this, they coach 5 teams and, they have a family and stuff like that. So it's difficult for them to help you sometimes. But if their comfort level is good in this area, certainly utilize them to your best expectation. But ask them what they're comfortable with in this process and see if they can help you in any way. Other advice, be in shape when you go to events, camps, showcases, tournaments. You want to be that player that, coaches realize you're in shape and ready to go and you're not going to be an issue for them that way. There's a fine line between the right amount of contact and being annoying. All right. You can reach out when you have something to say. Reach out when you have a tournament to go to and you're going to tell them, hey, I'm playing these times. Reach out when you've had a great season and stuff like that. Reach out when you're getting ready for a visit, but don't just reach out to randomly, just every day you're sending something to them and it's too much. Write emails from a computer, not a phone. I've seen too many emails in my time that come across, with thumbs texting and spelling errors and things like that. Go on a computer, type it out, do some things like that. Some other common questions. Am I good enough to compete in college? I think there's a place for almost everybody. I won't say everybody, but I'll say almost everybody. If you want to play in college and compete, there are opportunities out there for almost everybody. But the coach is the one that decides, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. The coach is the one who decides what they're looking for. Style of play matters. Do you fit into their style of play? Are you a 5'2" center mid? And this team likes to play really direct and thump it forward. And your job is, you're more of a technical player. Well, you're not going to fit in with that program. So the coach decides, but it's also style of play, how you fit into what they're doing, what they look for. Every coach is looking for a different type of player. You have to have athletic ability. You have to have skill, and you have to have the intangibles, leadership. Are you vocal on the field? Are you adaptable? These types of things. If you have all 3 of those, you're in a great spot. If you have 2 of those 3, you're probably capable of playing some level. What level is best for you? That's probably a harder question. Like I said, it's relative to what coaches are looking for. But cast a big net, be diverse, and soccer is strange, right? It's the stats don't always tell the whole story because there's not many stats. But find a place what's comfortable for you academically. Academically, I said, right? That plays a big part of it. And then athletically, socially, financially, what level is best for you. Then you'll find the best fit. How important is a highlight video? It's a very important first step, right? Especially if you're looking at schools that aren't in your hometown. If you're looking at a college in your hometown, you probably don't need a highlight video because the coach can come watch you at any time. But, it's a very important first step for most. Video is not going to get you a spot typically, but it is the bait and it can get you in the door. It's important to have 2 to 3 minutes max. Don't make it too long because coaches won't watch the whole thing. And it needs to be, front loaded, all your best stuff at the front. You need to know who you are, draw a little circle around you, show your strengths, something that's easy to watch. Coaches watch for about a minute. And if it's not good, they're going to turn it off. So you need to put your, it's either going to put you in the pool of prospects or it's not. So that's an important thing to have as a little video. I'd also have a full game video of a really good game you played, because a coach might say, "Oh, I really liked your video. Do you have any full game?" The pandemic got coaches used to recruiting online. They weren't able to go see people play live. They watched videos of people. And so now there's coaches that are comfortable out there that will say, well, I'll offer this kid an opportunity based on their video. I might not be able to go see him play. They're from 20 hours across the country, right? So have a full game video ready and an opportunity there too. If you need help with video, that's one of the things that I do is help make videos. And you can reach out to me and I can help you with that piece as well. I also go video games for kids who are regional, within a 4 or 5 hour radius. I have a VO camera that is able to video games and things like that. How valuable are ID camps and showcases? They can be great opportunities. That is definitely something that's out there that could be a necessary evil. It's not always, camps are supplemental. They help supplement a college coach's income. They help supplement the assistant coach's income. They might buy extra gear for their program, stuff like that. So they're money-making machines, but they're also places where they can see you play in their environment. Coaches will invite you potentially to say, hey, we really want to see you in our environment. We want to have you come to our camp. We want to have you play with our girls or the other girls who are being recruited by us. Can you come? They can have a time and place. I have a player who's going to a camp Friday, and it's at a school that he's really, it's his top choice. And he wasn't on their radar for a long time. And actually his initial video, the coach kind of said, no, not interested. And then the kid was accepted. It's a really elite academic school. And I've seen this kid play since then, and he's good enough, I think. I called the coach, told him the situation. Hey, this kid's good enough. I've seen him play. And so the coach wants to make sure for himself. I mean, he trusts me, but, he needs to see it in person. And the only way this kid's going to be able to see him play is the kid needs to go to his camp. It's 8 hours from where he lives. He needs to go Friday to really show if he can make it or not. It's basically a tryout, right? Those things can happen. It can happen, later in the game and things like that. But it's also freshman and sophomore years going to camps and kind of getting the idea of how intense these camps are. So when you do get invited to one like this kid's going to, you might have a chance to shine. You're not nervous and stuff like that. You've been to these types of camps because kids are hopped up at these camps. They're trying to show off. They're trying to show their best self, and those types of things are something to get used to for sure. How do you develop a relationship with a college coach of a program you're really interested in? That is certainly a interesting question, but coaches want relationships. It helps them narrow it down. If they got 10 kids going for one spot and they're all pretty good, which one of those kids is going to be their top choice? Well, yeah, the most talented, but it could be right here. And the kid that's a better relationship, better communicator moves up. All right, I hear it from coaches all the time. Well, he's a great communicator. We like him. We want that kid because he's a great communicator. Yeah, take him. I think he's really good. He's the real deal. He's not going to give you headaches. He's going to get good grades. He's or she or whatever it is that they want that. They don't want the kid who doesn't respond to texts and things like that. So a couple things. How do you up your stock, right? Your value goes up if you're a good communicator. So coaches, they communicate different ways. Let the coach drive the bus. If a coach is an emailer, you get an email back. You should check your email within 24 hours, all right? And you should respond back. If you're a texter, if the coach is a texter, text back, right? If they're a phone person, you're going to have to take phone calls. Have your voicemail set up. Return calls, because there are rules. If a coach leaves a message, they can't call you back. These are all things you need to be aware of and get back. The faster you get back, you move up, right? You wait 2 weeks, you move down, you move off the list. And a magic phrase I think you can ask coaches is, what can I do to be considered a prospect for your program? What can I do to be considered a recruit for your program? Just ask. What's the next steps for being recruited in your program? Ask them, and then a question in an email or a text makes them respond, right? And when they respond, a little back and forth goes and the relationship starts to build and you move up the list. So, that's certainly a part of this game, is how well you can communicate. That's really it. If you have questions, type them in the chat or the Q&A. Again, Top Student Athlete Recruiting. I use my experience and connections to help prospects and their families in the soccer recruiting prospect gain more exposure, find the right fit college to attend, get you on doorsteps using my connections. Help save a lot of money on college costs. Last year, my clients saved, about $20,000 per client over 4 years, and help facilitate the process from start to finish to help reduce stress and help save parent-teenager relationships, which I know it can be challenging at times. So I have some in my own house here. So if there are questions that you want to ask here on the chat or the Q&A, feel free to do that. If not, email me, call me, or text me directly. I'm happy to see how I can help you meet your goals of playing in college soccer and finding that great fit opportunity. So I'll hang out for a minute or two if a question does come up. Otherwise, feel free to follow up with me privately and we'll go from there. Thank you.